listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the program. We have a very interesting guest for you today. It is Chris Troopy. Who is Chris Troopy? Chris is one of our partners with Party Drinks. He is the owner and operator of Paradise Craft Distributors. Now, this isn't going to be so much pushing product, talking about business. Like I've said from the very beginning when this podcast was created, we wanted to find interesting people with profound connections to golf. And Chris has them more than almost anybody I know. His family is in the golf industry, has operated a golf course for a long time. He is the godson of LPGA Tour star and World Golf Hall of Famer Jan Stephenson. So he's got great stories about his aunt, who has been a guest here before on Party Time, My Golf Story. And ultimately, because of Jan, he went to places that he otherwise never could have. Stories about Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, on it goes. But he is also a tremendous resource to talk about the golf industry and the role that a drink like Party has in it, because he understands all the drinking habits of the people that play golf and like to indulge while it's going on. I've told you before, I don't really indulge on the golf course. I think golf is hard enough as it is. I wait until I'm done. But there are a lot of other people that they want their drink while they're playing golf. And Chris knows all about the habits, what people want, when they want it, how they want to have it served. So I think from a business standpoint, this is going to be a fascinating discussion and conversation with him. Before we go any further, would you please, if you haven't already, like the podcast and subscribe to it? That makes our sponsors, that makes Paradise Craft, our distributor, happy. It also makes Party Drinks, the title sponsor, very happy. And also for the algorithms on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. They need all that stuff. All right. So give the geeks what they want, like the podcast, subscribe to it. If you've done it already, thank you so much. It makes a big difference. And also a big thanks to the golf real estate pros of Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com. If your dream is to live on a golf course, there's no better time to buy right now. The market is softened. Home prices are coming down. And there are vacancies at Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from. Nobody knows the neighborhood better than Gene and Vince because they live in the neighborhood. They're golfers. They're talking your language. All right, so let's get rolling here with the man of the hour, Chris Troopy. Man, you and I, we talk shop all the time, so I figured it was time to do a podcast together. And sometimes, Chris, the best guests are right under our noses, and we just don't always know it. But your golf story, your family history around golf goes way, way back. When would you say it began?
Well, just like everybody else, or most people, my dad, we would go out and play golf when I was young, and we lived on a golf course in Largo called Bardmore Country Club, and JCPenney Classic was played there for a long time, and we got to go right from our condo. We could go and watch the tournament when it was going on. I was just fascinated with it, so we just started playing, and lucky for me, a lot of my friends lived in the neighborhood, so we would go out there and play, as often as we could, just as kids. So, it started off pretty early, and I'm still trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, I think we're all doing that. I'm trying to figure out how often people get your name wrong. Do you want to say it how it's supposed to be pronounced, but maybe give a couple of examples of how it's often mispronounced?
So it's Troopy, but it's funny you asked that because my wife is a teacher. And she argued with me for quite a bit of time and said, it's not spelled Troopy, it's spelled Truppi. And I said, well, I can't go back into my lineage and change that. You're going to have to get used to it. And she said, well, I'll just let people call me Truppi because that's the way that it's spelled. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's That's one way of doing it, but it's Troopy.
Troopy it is. So if somebody gets it, they know something. But you wouldn't be the first person that basically changed their name or the pronunciation of it just because it's easier on people. I mean, Joe Theismann is really Joe Theismann. When he was at Notre Dame, it was Theismann for Heisman, and it just stuck. And that is, it is what it is. I mean, but it's an interesting name. You could have a boring name like mine. I mean, nobody's going to mispronounce my name. It's Kevin Wall. I mean, how do you mess that up? I don't think you can. Hey, where are you, by the way? Why don't you describe your day? Because I want to get into what your life is like on the business end. And because I know your day started on one coast and you're on the other one.
Yeah. So, the dirty part of the business that people don't understand is all the little intricacies that go into this business. You show up at a restaurant and you say, I'd like a gin and tonic. Well, all of a sudden, magically, a gin and tonic appears. But that doesn't have anything to show for the ordering system, the delivery system to the warehouse, having to keep up with the tax man who wants their money every 30 days, the counting that we have to do every single month, every product, every bottle that's in my warehouse, which is 100 and something thousand bottles, is physically counted every single month. And then like me, I do get my hands dirty. When something needs to be taken care of, that's what I do. We have 11 employees, thank God, and we're building the company. But my day started off, I went to Violent Femmes concert last night in St. Pete at downtown, and Janice Landing, actually. I found out last night that Elvis had played there. So, okay, it's pretty cool. I like that place. But then I go home, which is about an hour away, and I try to quickly go to bed because 4:30 comes pretty early. And then out of bed, leave Tampa around 5-ish or so. Ended up in Boca Raton. Had to go down and did a couple of deliveries there. Went to go see a few accounts. Went up to West Palm Beach. Saw a few accounts that were there. And now I am in a hotel in Vero Beach. Tomorrow will be Melbourne and Titusville. And then I get to head home finally.
Okay, I'm exhausted just hearing all that. So you went to a concert last night. You got up early. You make deliveries. You're not just counting the money in the shop. You're driving forklifts around the warehouse. You're lifting the stuff. You're driving. So you've been on the road for several hours with not a lot of sleep. Maybe that's part of a small business, isn't it?
It is. Like I said, I get my hands dirty, but I do what I need to do to help support my staff. So I do have a warehouse manager, and he takes a bulk of the responsibility. But yesterday we had 22 pallets of tequila that came in, and almost 800 cases had to go out today. So those had to be counted, accounted for, and then loaded up, put on invoices and loaded up. And today I had to go see some accounts. So I was already going to be on this coast. So I took 5 or 6 orders. So I could deliver it, just take it off my drivers. I got a driver today that went from Tampa to Jacksonville and back, and another driver that went from Tampa to Pensacola. Excuse me. They were in Panama City too, but all the way out to Pensacola and back. That's about a 20-hour trip for him. I do what I need to do because I own a business, but I have people in place that they're good and they do what they do, and then I'm really their support.
Chris Troopy, owner and operator of Paradise Craft Distributors, is our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoaststreams.com. I really enjoyed talking to your aunt a little more than a month ago, World Golf Hall of Famer Jan Stephenson. Everybody loves Jan. I knew I would love the conversation, but she blew me away. She made me feel like we'd been friends for life. How did you become her grandson? What's the backstory there?
Well, so I love Jan. I got to say, I get to do a lot of things that I probably have no business being able to do because of Jan. And she came into my life because my parents are very close with her. My stepfather, he is a business manager for her. My mother actually does her day-to-day scheduling, and whether it's a tasting, whether it's speaking, does all of that kind of stuff. So she came in. I don't even remember not knowing Jan or having her in my life. But my stepfather owned Razor Golf, and Razor Golf at the time, it was Tommy Bolt was one of the people that were sponsored by him, and Jan was sponsored by Razor Golf They still semi-operate. He's been closing down that's portion of the business, but that's really how things started. And we've been very, very close ever since.
Tell me the reaction that people have when Jan walks in a room. You've been there many times. I mean, she just lights up a room and she's stunning. Okay. Tell me a couple stories where that just blew you away about the impact that she has on people.
Well, one of the things that we do a lot of, she's had some issues over the last 2 years that have kind of hampered the ability to have a full schedule. But we've done a lot of tastings with her rum, with her wines previously, speaking engagements. And I'm 48, so anybody that's around my age and older, they remember her playing. They remember, whether it was on the Legends Tour, or whether it was on the LPGA Tour. Anybody that's a little younger than me, they may not. But if they're an avid golfer, they obviously do. So when she goes into, how should I put this? 'Cause I know she's gonna listen to this. When you go into a facility that has maybe 100, 150 people, and they're there, they're excited to see her, and they start telling her about the posters that they had on their wall, and kind of mesmerized a little bit, starstruck. There was the poster that was number 2 selling poster ever. I think Jane Fonda was number 1. And the look and the reaction with people that are in their 60s and 70s when they see her, it's like they're little kids again. We had a tasting that was supposed to be a woman's tasting in Port St. Lucie or Port Charlotte. No, it was Port St. Lucie, sorry. It was supposed to be just for women. They were making this because the women always complained that there was always a guy that showed up. There was always bourbon night. They wanted something for the women. Once they found out that Jan was going to be there, there was more men than women there, and it was full of the ladies. But all of a sudden, all the men need to be there. So it's kind of funny when you see that reaction.
Is the poster you're talking about the golf balls in the bathtub, or is it a different one?
No, I think it's the one where she's doing the Marilyn Monroe picture.
Okay.
I think that's the one. She's done a lot of different stuff.
I know.
I hear about the golf ball one I hear of frequently, and my friends like to rib me on that one. I'm like, yeah, I have seen that picture a million times. Yes, it was in Playboy, whatever.
We went there right away. I figured I would. Well, when we talked, we got the cancer conversation. When you talked about she was not really available for a couple of years, I think you were referring to her cancer scare, and just an amazing recovery, thank God. And then we very quickly got to the golf balls in the tub. And she told us a funny story. I guess it's not real comfortable, like sitting on golf balls and being covered by golf balls. But she put it in such a way that you understood without being a little too fresh. But I think that's how she is. Now, what's the Jack Nicklaus?
Real quick here before you
go ahead.
I just want to say a little something about her being sick. So you bring it up. I had a friend reach out to me that knows Jan well, and he's like, when she first got the diagnosis, she was trying to be kind of quiet. And I don't know who told ESPN, but we were literally in the living room. We had just eaten dinner. Jan was sitting there. My stepdad, my mom was in the kitchen. I remember it was yesterday, and we were watching golf. And a breaking news came out on ESPN that she had cancer, and she hadn't told anybody, not to my knowledge or her knowledge. So all of a sudden, it just breaks. So I get a phone call from a buddy of mine, and he goes, I don't know how to approach Jan. And I go, why? He goes, I just feel terrible. And I go, well, what do you feel terrible about? He says, she has cancer. And I go, well, who do you feel bad for? He goes, Jan, of course. And I said, well, you should feel bad for cancer, because cancer's never met an opponent like Jan. And if anybody's going to beat it, she's going to beat the crap out of it. That's exactly what she did. She is an interesting person. That she just, if she puts her mind to something, if she wants it done, it's going to happen.
Well, I mentioned before, she made me feel like just the first time I talked to her is when we recorded the podcast, but I felt like I was talking to an old friend. And that's exactly how I felt when I interviewed Arnold Palmer some 25 years ago. You've got some Arnold Palmer stories. Give it up. Let's hear it.
Well, okay. So I'll give you two that are kind of interesting. So one kind of sets the tone for who Arnold Palmer really was. And Arnie was he was just one of the nicest guys. And, so just backstory forever. Since I was probably 5 years old, I've been chasing athletes, getting autographs, and I collect, I sell some. At that time, I was doing a lot of charity events and setting up charity auctions where after a tournament, people would come in and bid on items. I would get a percentage, and then they would get, the lion's share of the percentage of the sale. And I was out at Bay Hill, and Arnie's grandson was there. He's signing autographs at the fence. And Arnie was sitting in his golf cart, which is customary. He would just pull the golf cart up, and there would be 100 people with Masters flags, of course. And it was very odd because whenever he was there, it was very orderly. Arnie had some of the biggest respect I had ever seen anybody give another human being. It was amazing. So his grandson signing away and having a good time and everything, talking, and he goes to turn and walk away. And Arnie said something to him. I didn't hear what he said, but he said something to him. So his grandson turns on Sam, turns around, and I said, "What, Grandpa?" And he goes, "These people are here because they want to come and see you, and you're getting paid because these people are here. You're not leaving until they're done getting autographs." And we're talking about, he was in a golf cart. He was not well, and he sat there for hours signing, and his grandson stood there. And that's just Arnie. That's just him.
Arnie is so you're talking about Sam Saunders, his grandson, who is now running the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and it has really been out in the forefront. But I've heard that story, not that particular one, but the same genesis of it, telling other golfers, you sign until you're done for those same reasons. He was very firm about that.
So I do have one that I shouldn't have done with Arnie. I'll tell you another one was kind of funny. So we go over to Bay Hill. This was not tournament time, but he would take his golf cart with the dog from his house to the clubhouse pretty much religiously every day around the same time and do whatever business. And we never bothered him in there, but he kind of snuck out on us. And all of a sudden we see him going back to his house, and I'm with a buddy of mine. So Gary, if you see this, yes, I'm talking about you. So Gary pulls up to his house, and I'm like, I don't know, this is a good idea. Arnie is in his garage. So he looks over at us, and he kind of gives us this look like, come on, guys. So he sits there for a second, and he waves us over. We get out of the car, and he's like, "What can I do for you fellas?" So we got a couple of Masters flags that we wanted to get signed, Mr. Palmer. And he kind of sits for a second. And I said, "Can I get you a present out of the car?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." So I went and I got him a bottle of Kettle One. That's what he used to drink. And I said, "We come with presents. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, put your flags down." He starts signing. His personal security guy drives up, and he waves them off. "My buddies are here. They're going to be leaving in a couple minutes. You don't have to worry." And I gave him his bottle of Kettle One. He signed some stuff, shook our hands, and that was Arnie.
Oh, definitely. That's a good one. What's the story of Jack Nicklaus at the Hall of Fame induction and you cutting the line or something like that?
Okay, so we're in 19. Jan got inducted at Pebble, so we got to go. It was amazing. I could not believe that I was actually there. So I was married to a woman named Shannon at the time, and we're sitting front row, and everything's going on, and just trying to look around to see who all was there. I knew that there was, I knew Jack was there, and Watson was there. It was just a myriad of people that were there. So I go to take a picture like this, and my ex-wife looks over at me, and I was like, "Just look forward. Don't look at the camera." And she goes, "Why?" And I said, "Just trust me." So she just looks forward, stoically. And I take a picture. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Look at this. We're sitting in front of Jack. What business do I have sitting in front of the Golden Bear? But our seats are better than his." And he fell asleep, by the way, during that. I got a picture of him sleeping.
Is that right?
Yes, I do. I'll show it to you later.
Okay. Did you talk to him at all, or he was just on logs? He was, How was that?
Yeah. So afterwards, they have after the Hall of Fame induction is over, they have an area that at Pebble there. It was in Carmel, and where the proceedings were, and everybody went out for hors d'oeuvres and everything. And Condoleezza Rice was there, and Annika, and all everybody was there, and so it was just mingle time. and Gary Player was there. So we were just walking around, mingling, talking shop, listening to stories. I was listening more than I was talking. No one wanted to hear my stories, but it was fun. It was just it was a time that you could see the greatest to ever play talk like you and I are doing right now.
Because that's how they talk. That's what we don't know is we don't get them when their guard is down, when they're with their dog, when they're having Kettle One, when the garage is open, when they're among their peers. And it's kind of like, okay, we don't have to put on a show for anybody. We're just enjoying each other's company. Chris Troopy is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicar from SuncoastDreams.com. I want to get into the business end of things because whenever I talk to you, when we talk shop, like, we really have to talk business, you always tell me something that I don't really know because I'm a rookie at this pimping of golf drinks. I think I know golf and I do, but you know the business side because your family operated a golf course in the Tampa area in just a bit. But to me, drinking on the golf course is new. And I'll define that by maybe 10 years old. I do not drink on the golf course. I think golf is hard enough as it is. I try to catch up later. But it's a thing. And I'm not going to poop on anybody's party because if that enhances your experience, then that's fine. But we're seeing a shift in the drinking habits of golfers. Not so much the beer on the golf course. They're going more to the ready-to-drink canned cocktails, which Party is. But just educate me and educate everybody else on what the drinking habits of golfers are.
Well, kind of all over the place. I mean, men and women are so different, right? And, I see people that definitely have too much. I mean, whoever's listening to this knows they have that one friend that's like, you don't bring around people you actually care about when you're going to go play because they're going to make a fool of themselves. Then I have, people that kind of like with me and darts. If I have a couple of drinks, I'm actually okay. I'm not great at darts or pool. I'm okay at pool if I have a couple. If I have a couple more, I'm horrible. So I do partake on the golf course, but not much, just kind of enough to loosen things up and maybe relax a little bit. And I see that as I see that as kind of the trend is most people are going to have something that's going to loosen them up a little bit. But I see more of the RTD and the canned cocktails that are hitting the courses, and people are drinking for a couple of reasons. First off, it's like 7,000 degrees out in Tampa or anywhere in Florida when you're playing. It's ridiculously hot. So you want something that's refreshing. But I'm an IPA guy. I love drinking IPAs, so I'll drink stouts, but you know how heavy those are. So even if you're going to drink something light, like a Bud Light or a Mick Ultra or something like that, they get warm really quickly. You can't put them on ice because then they just taste terrible. And there's a lot of hops in there, no matter which one you're going to have. So it kind of fills you up, gets some inflammation going in your body. So you play in a 5-hour round and you have a couple of beers before you go out there, you're going to have inflammation. And it just is what it is. So I see more people going to those canned cocktails. Plus, doesn't take very many of those when you're talking, anywhere from 5 to 10% alcohol, 12% alcohol. It doesn't take very many of those for you to feel good. You don't have to buy as many of them. They're a little more expensive, but that's 10 where I see it going. And the other side of that is the golf carts. Everybody has their favorite golf cart girl that overserves them. And you know who hates that? The guy that's paying her, that has to pay for the alcohol. The guy that owns the food and beverage.
Yeah, because she has a heavy pour, which you as a customer likes, but that's lost inventory, right?
100%.
And that's why management, if we can convince them of that, might like a little bit better controlled inventory that something like Party would bring.
I mean, yeah, and it comes to when you're talking about anybody that's making a cocktail. I don't care if it's a bar, a restaurant, the golf cart girl, the bar that's in there, doesn't matter. So 25.4 ounces are in a 750. So what are you going to pour? You're going to pour an ounce and a half, 2 ounces. Well, that's how they're going to calculate how much the drinks are going to be. By the way, they also, whoever it is, I don't care if it's your favorite bar and they tell you something different, the third drink they make out of that bottle, they had better be paying for that bottle. That's how they calculate, the drink costs. So if they're going to give a 1 ounce pour, they're going to get about 25 drinks out of that bottle. As soon as someone starts heavy pouring, all bets are off. Yes, they're going to make money, but they're not making money the way that they should. And is that stealing? I don't know. I mean, if I own a restaurant and I saw someone that was doing that, habitually, yeah, I mean, that would be stealing. Now, does everybody have their favorite bartender, and the bartenders get extra tips, and there's some of that goes on? Yeah, absolutely. It's an industry that it happens in, but the way that you just cut that completely out, 100%, is with Party or any other canned cocktail. And
it's also a time saver as well. How long 100%. Does it take to mix? Talk me through that.
Well, I mean, if you're going to construct a transfusion is the number one seller. Transfusion has been a blessing to us because it's a real thing. People that drink transfusions, that's what they want. And, for you to get vodka and the juices and all that stuff and make the pour correct every single time. I mean, it takes some time. I mean, how long does it take to pull something out of a cooler and pop the top and hand it to somebody? But you're talking if somebody's really fast, minute and a half to make a drink. But if you and I made drinks, if I broke out, just gin and tonic, and I gave it to you and I had it in front of me, our drinks are going to taste different. There's no consistency when you have somebody's hand involved.
So you got the consistency, you got the time saver, you got better inventory control, less loss and everything. That is why it's really a no-brainer for the golf industry to just eliminate that. But you don't end up hurting the cart girl or the bartender because they move more volume. For them, it's all about the tips. I mean, yeah. I guess there's a little artistry involved in mixing a drink, but like in the end, you just want to keep the revenue machine rolling. I mean, fair to say.
100%. And, if you wanted to increase what they're going to purchase and let them go on their way, you could sell them a nip, a 50 ml of vodka, say, here's a transfusion and here's your 50 ml. You can make your own cocktail when you go onto the course if you want to make it a little stronger. So maybe 6.1 or 6%, think of 6%. Maybe that's not strong enough for you. Maybe you really want to pound one down. Okay, fine. You're just handing them the product and then they're leaving. So it's not something that you have to make. But, I mean, when we haven't even talked about the other side of it because golf is a great community. But look at what we've done, with the boating community. With the boating community, people want a can that they can, just crush up and throw into a bag because they don't want glass sitting around. You're not going to bring products out there to make drinks unless you're going to an island and you bring a whole cooler full of stuff. But I mean, is that practical? Sometimes, but not really. So, it made me scratch my head, on why these RTDs had exploded so much. White Claw was the leader. And I mean, you don't even find White Claw anywhere. Now it's Neutral and, all those guys. There's always a big dog and the big dog always falls. That's just the nature of the beast. Everybody that says, I love Tito's, I bet you love Stoli about 15 years ago because that was number one. It just changes, whatever marketing it is. But this is not necessarily marketing that's driving this. It's convenience. Convenience for the consumer and for the for the store owner or bar owner.
And the taste. I mean, the secret sauce in Party is just the quality of the spirit. That vodka is distilled 6 times, so it's super smooth. It doesn't taste boozy. And the rum products distilled twice and then stored in oak for a year. Tell me about operating a golf course. I know a lot of people who love golf say, I'd really like to own a golf course. And they're like the same people who say, I really like to own a restaurant because I love to cook. Well, your family has done both. All right. So be careful what you wish for, right?
So I love it because we're in Florida. Everybody says, throw another 1,000 when they talk about their boat. You think a boat's expensive, go buy a golf course. The maintenance, just the products you have to put on the greens, depending on seasons, the rain. You and I were talking about, we're in Hurricane Alley. So how many people have spent 2 hours after a hurricane or a really bad storm picking up their yard? Well, why don't you do that over 18 holes and then everything else? I mean, you're talking hundreds of acres of land. And I mean, it could take 3 people, or 20 people 3 days, which is actually what the last hurricane did to the golf course. How about this? Kids with their bicycles that decide to go on the golf course and ride their bikes on the greens and tear them up. That's fun.
or a dirt bike. I had a guy ride through my golf course and everything, and I finally waved him over. I'm like, come here. I'm like, you can't do that. Just get out of here before the police come, because they would have come. I wouldn't have called the police on him, but it's all right. I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, I mean, you know, and if you're not there doing it every day, there's a lot of things that you would miss. My daughter loved going into the little cart and going picking up the range balls because when she was young, she's like, "Oh, I'm driving, Dad," and it was fun. We got to spend time together. She can't stand golf. I wish she did. Jan really tried to teach her, and she just didn't. She just didn't want to do it. Although she could get, she got free college if she went to a school, even if she was halfway decent. She'd go to a Division 2 or 3 school and pick up a scholarship, no problem. Because in women's golf, not all scholarships are taken. But it wasn't for her. But even at that, she liked to pick up the range balls, and she liked to work in the golf club, and she liked to, give people the money back after they paid for their round. So even though she doesn't like golf, it was a part of her life, and still it continues to be a part of her life.
Yeah, anybody that's worked at a golf course before, you have that interaction with people. There's the fun. I mean, the first vehicle I ever drove was a golf cart. Did a lot of damage to the golf carts. Survived a few accidents. Did dumb shit that I did when I was young. I'm sure you did it too. And then people like in the range picker, everybody hitting line drives at you. Well, that's retaliation for when you were the guy hitting line drives. Everybody did that. Come on, we know everybody did that. Chris,
one thing that I thought, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there. One thing I think is pretty interesting is there's a lot of courses out there. I think golf is very healthy. I mean, go try to get on a course right now, and it's hot outside. And a buddy of mine just he had to play a 5.5 hour round because there was 4 groups in front of him on a Saturday, and it was like 85 degrees out. We're not even getting our spring. We're going straight to summer here. But not only that, but then you have, you got Tiger's Place, which is, interesting. You got all these driving ranges, the fun stuff. But we actually, in our area, we have a virtual golf course that they're building. It's going to have 5 bays and food, drinks, full bar, play area for the kids. And they're going to have leagues as well there too. So, Tiger Show, golf is, it's pretty interesting because it's very versatile, and they have, at least in my opinion, it could be wrong, but in my opinion, they've really reached out over many generations to make sure that it doesn't really matter how old you are. You have something that you can be involved in golf, and it's fun.
Yeah, the TGL thing, the first time I watched it, wasn't a big fan of it, but then I just gave it a chance. I'm on board now. It's still golf. It's golf a little bit different than how we grew up. But if that's a chance for families to connect and friends to connect and do it a little bit faster than a 5.5 hour round that you just talked about on the golf course, I'm all in. Anything that gets people there. What's the Gary Player story, Chris?
All right. I'm going to try to show a little picture of this one too. So Gary, he's a funny dude. I love Gary Player.
Hold on. Before you get into the storytelling, did he tell you he does 3,000 push-ups and sit-ups a day? Did that enter the conversation at any point?
I've heard that. He hasn't said that to me directly, but I've heard him boast about his, how physically fit he is. And I'm going to show you that this picture, after I tell you a story, I'm tending to think it's true. So we're at the event in 19 for the Hall of Fame, and this is actually the night that I was talking about, where everybody was able to talk and decompress, have some drinks together. So Jan had a bunch of friends there. I took this picture, so I actually have the real picture on this. So Gary is walking around, and all the girls want to get a picture with Gary. So they scooch in, and they couldn't get everybody in the picture. So Gary said, "Who's the head of HR on this place?" And everybody's kind of laughing. They're looking around, and he goes, "All right." He goes, "Here we go. Let's get tight." Everybody gets tight, and he grabs a girl and just physically picks her up. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't know if this comes through, but he literally.
Oh, I could see the legs. Not that great, but
he literally just picks one of them up and he smiles, and everybody else is in and takes the picture and then puts her down. "Thank you, ladies." Walked away. I was like, that's only Gary Player would do that. So
that's such a mic drop. Yes, he could do it. Arnold could probably do that. Can't see Jack doing that. Tiger wouldn't do that. Gary could pull it because he's got the panache and he's got the he's got the personality, to pull it off. Hey Chris, I really enjoy the conversation. I love doing business with you. You've made me a better business person, and I just love the grit that you had. I hope you get some sleep because I know you got a lot of driving ahead. But let's just.
Do you have time for two more things, and then I'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so,
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hit it up.
First off, one of my favorite people. I know I keep saying this is my favorite in golf, man. There's just nobody that's bad. They may have bad days, but it's a gentleman's sport, and it's you just have a different breed of person that's a fan that plays, all that. So one of my favorite people to ever talk with, and I just absolutely loved him. Unfortunately, passed, is Billy Casper. And Billy Casper had a book, The Big Three and Me. Because during his time, he was number 4. He won all those Masters and everything else. So I was at the Super Senior, the inaugural Super Senior event. So you're talking. This is in Georgia, in Savannah. Mutual Omaha, I think it was, something like that. Anyway, so Gary was there, Doug Ford was there. I mean, like the who's who of anybody that was 70 and up, Super Senior. So Billy's standing there, and Billy would sign everything you had. And I don't know, with him, I tried to get really interesting, like press photos and things like that. And just, I love collecting his stuff. And so he's sitting there, he's signing away. And so I asked him, I held a picture up, and Gene Littler had already signed it. It was I think it was 70 US Open that he lost on a Sunday. And Gene had overtaken him. So I said, hey, what was it like losing on a Sunday? Which is probably the stupidest question you could ask somebody. I mean,
no. Well, maybe it is, or maybe it is, but the ball's on you. Show him the picture and remind him of that and ask the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, he signed it, but so he goes, excuse me? And I said, yeah. I said, what was it like? What did it feel like? You were up, 3-4 shots, and then you lost on Sunday right at the end of the tournament. He goes, I don't know what to talk about. I've never lost a tournament on Sunday in my life. He goes, none of us have. And I was like, come on. I was like, this is the photo. This photo is from the Open. And he's like, son, you just don't understand. He's like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those days are more important than Sunday. You don't lose on a Sunday. He's like, I'm sure that I had a ball that went in the rough, and the short rough, that I couldn't get out, couldn't get close, missed a putt maybe. Friday, Saturday, I'm sure that I ducked one, or duffed one over here or there, got in the sand instead of hitting the green. He's like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday makes Sunday inconsequential. It's like, you never lose on Sunday. And I'm like, why? Like, why do you have to Jedi mind trick me? I just wanted to know how it felt to lose. And in the end, it's actually probably the most important advice that someone never wanted to give me. He wasn't giving me advice. He was literally telling me how the pros approach things. And if you're a pro in anything, you could be a pro plumber. You could be anything. If you don't approach things with the right progression throughout your days, when you messed up, it's not a mess up for that time. You messed up because of the preparation wasn't there and the execution wasn't there previously. And I just absolutely love Billy to death. And I still, I'm repeating that to you right now. I think of his advice every day.
Do it right from the beginning. Because when you do it right from the beginning, it'll be right at the end instead of like going through it haphazardly. And I've heard a lot of golf pros say before, you can't win a tournament on Thursday, but you can sure lose it. So do the right thing. If you're in trouble, get it out. And you have one more, Chris? Yeah.
So this is not the first time that I've been on a podcast, and believe it or not, Jan and I used to have a podcast, and we had it for about a year, and her schedule was just too much. And you know how podcasts are. You'd better have them done and put out on a regular basis, or you lose people. I do the same thing. If I listen to Rogan like every week, and if Rogan stopped putting stuff out for a week or two, I'll probably find somebody else, and then all of a sudden you listen to that. So our first podcast was out at it was in Orlando at the golf event, Robert Gomez's golf tournament. It was actually for Halloween or something. It was around that time. So growing up, my hero was Ken Griffey Jr. I love Ken Griffey Jr. I tried to swing like Ken Griffey Jr. I thought I was going to be in the major leagues and be on TV and do all that stuff. And obviously I'm in a hotel at 48 years old with no hair selling booze. So it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. But Ken Griffey and Jan were neighbors when she lived in Orlando. So my first interview on our first episode was Ken Griffey Jr. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I know I sounded terrible. One, I hadn't practiced very much. And two, I was in complete awe. But I was like, man, just another thing that I get to do because of the Jan. It was mind blowing. And I also asked him what his favorite song was to sing karaoke. It was an ACD song, and he freaking sang it. He sang part of it on there. I'm like, Ken Griffey Jr. is singing ACD on a golf course on my podcast. How ridiculous is life right now?
Hey, man, you've been a good guest. Maybe you should bring your podcast back with Jan or me or somebody else. No, you got it, because you got the gift of gab, and that's part of the salesman in you. And I think that's the golf in you, because when you've been as immersed in the golf culture as you have been, there's just so many opportunities for reps. You know what I mean? There's just so much time that's involved with it. You're going to get to know people. And that's the whole point of this podcast. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just tee you up and let you go. And you did great.
No, you sound great. This is probably your next profession, by the way. And, people always say, if there's if something's going on in your life and you're having some stress or whatever, touch grass, right? What better grass is there to touch than get out there and playing around?
You got that right. I never have a bad day on the golf course, even when I play poorly. I mean, where else would you rather be? Just as a caddy, I have such a head start on the rest of the people that are working day jobs and everything. The people I'm dealing with, they're in a good mood. It's going to take a lot to knock them off their posts. And it's probably not going to happen. And I just try and make them happy, be relentlessly positive. I think that's what it's all about. Chris, really enjoyed it. Thank you for your help with Part T. Looking forward to seeing always. Looking forward to seeing you again in person. Paradise Craft, by the way, is the exclusive distributor of Part T drinks in Florida. If you're in the golf business and you want to get in touch with Chris and the folks at Paradise, there's the number at the bottom of your screen. You should have this at your place, because believe me, your golfers will want it. They'll continue to buy it, and they're getting tired of that other stuff. And a big thanks to our golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro from suncoaststreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. Good time to buy. The market has softened. So if your dream is to live on a golf course like we do here at Lakewood National, get in touch with Vince and Gene, and they can help you out. And that's it. And Part T drinks. Support that and support Paradise Craft. For Chris Troopy, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Part T Time, my golf story.
Cheers.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Part T Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoaststreams.com or call 941-220-4000.